Yeah, welcome to Drinkin, Bros, kids. Got an amazing Wednesday show lined up for you today. Sorry, I was so excited at the top. Can barely contain myself. Quick bit of housekeeping here. Bobathy, if you'll put that pic up on screen, our new show, scripted romance novels for dudes, is number 10 on the iTunes charts right now. Give it a quick download and help drive it to number 1. We beat Marvel. We beat all of Amazon and Audio Chuck stuff today. It'd be great to see it at number 1. So please go out and download the Romance Novels for Dudes, which is out today. Speaking of romance, D'Anthony, our guest today is Ari Nagel, the man who has fathered over 100 children. We talked about this guy a while back on Fake News. He's now here on the show.
Yeah, a prolific masturbator, I guess you could say.
Well,
right?
We're going to find out today. We're going to find out. Are you doing this God's way, which is just having sex, or you jacking off into a jar?
I think the medical term is slamming ass.
Okay,
actually.
slamming
Yeah,
ass,
so
yes.
anyways, yeah.
Ari, which way are you doing that?
It varies, but generally I'm trying to do it not the old-fashioned way, but in a cup.
Oh, in a cup. All right.
It's a lot more efficient.
It is, but I mean, don't you miss the element of clapping cheeks and getting some eye contact before one of your children goes out into the world?
Do you realize how rare eye contact is in nature?
Really?
That's a Dwight Schrute quote.
Oh, God. I don't need it. I don't need it. I'm not one of those guys who watches The Office every day. Ari, how many of these women have you actually physically had sex with?
Oh, probably we're talking about over 100 baby mamas, and I would probably say somewhere between 1 dozen and 2 dozen, but probably closer to a dozen.
Okay, so to a dozen. So you got 12 knocked up in person. By the way, really want to compliment you on your laid-back attitude today. You've got a wife beater on. It appears as if maybe you're in South Florida somewhere. That's my guess.
I am in Miami, and I went out on a jet ski yesterday, and I'm well done on both sides. So I'm ready to go back to New York. I got a flight back tonight, and I'm burnt to a crisp. I thought I schmutzed up and smeared all this sunblock. I don't think it made any bit of difference. When you're out on the water, it was just baking.
Yeah. Now, are you there for work? Sex, or are you there for other things? Because I know you're a mathematician.
I came here to drop something off. It was a beautiful Brazilian young lady, and she was ovulating. She called me Saturday night, said that she tested positive, so I booked out a flight right then and there and flew out a couple hours later. And we tried Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
So was that in person or was that in a cup?
Generally I'm trying to do it in a cup, because if I'm helping more than one woman a month, as I am now, it's a little challenging to protect myself and protect the other women. So the cup is just the safest method. So that's generally how I'm conceiving these days.
Okay, so with the beautiful Brazilian, you're not in the same room or anything. You're just kind of down there, boom, in a cup, and then you're out of there on a flight home.
Well, we spent 3 days together, but while I was here, I also went to visit some kids, because I have 12 kids in Florida. So I got to spend time and do homework. We practiced our sight words last night, and with a 5-year-old, my daughter Grace, I got to see Max. And of course, I have kids spread out all over the state, all the way from Jacksonville all the way on down to South Florida. And then I got to visit a whole bunch of friends while I was here, because of course, my visit here only requires me to, work 2 minutes a day. But the other 24 hours roughly, I'm free to just enjoy.
Yeah, but are you really working? I mean, when you're doing what you love, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's not work.
Yeah, absolutely. Where does one take 12 kids in Florida? Do you guys hop on down to Olive Garden? Do all the moms get together? Do they know you? Do you go see gators? There's a nice, all up and down Jacksonville, there's a bunch of gators there.
Yeah, but they're spread out all over the state, so it's hard to get them together. Last month, I went to visit my daughter Annabelle in Sarasota. I was also in Jacksonville last month visiting my daughter Callie. I have a couple of kids in Orlando, including a new one that was born last month. But they sometimes get together if there's a birthday party, as there was in August for a 4-year-old. There were some other 4 and 5-year-olds. There was another birthday party in September in Orlando that a couple of the other kids attended. So even if I missed the birthday party, sometimes they might invite the other kids that are in nearby in the same state, and they'd join.
Okay. Okay. And how do you get started in something like this? Because I've discussed this numerous times on another show about Nick Cannon. So Nick Cannon just had his 10th kid, which, let's face it, it's 90 less than you. So you're the God king.
Well below. And just to give you an idea, in 2022, I had 20 children so far, and the year's not over yet. I still got a few months left.
You sure do.
Is there a number you're trying to hit here? What's the deal?
Yeah. What's the goal? What's the life goal here?
My goal was reached already. A couple of years ago. I think, you want to have a boy, you want to have a girl. I don't know if you really need more. I mean, once I had a dozen, I think I surpassed all the goals I had. I think in the end, this woman that reached out to me from Brazil who asked me for help, she's 38 years old and she's going to be having her first child. So I think it's less about hitting a number that I have in mind, but more about hitting number one for her and allowing her to experience motherhood. So it was never really about a number for me. I think the number that matters most to me is my age. I turned 47 in August, so I don't know how much longer. I think it's already probably inappropriate for me to be jerking off in public restrooms. Certainly, I don't want to be doing this when I'm 50.
No, I understand. And is that your goal then, is to make enough money to retire? Because one would assume you're getting paid for this and quite handsomely.
No, that's not the understanding at all. This woman from Brazil gave me back and refunded me what I paid for the flight, and she took me to Golden Corral this morning, which was very generous. She insisted on paying, but there was no money exchanged. She is not reimbursing me. I never charged any of the mothers that I'm helping.
Now, what did you get at Golden Corral?
I hit the buffet. I went
For sure, yeah, but what did you get on the buffet?
What did you get, though? Did you get that popcorn shrimp, dog?
I didn't order a drink. That's an upcharge. I tried to get her to say, let's go as seniors because then we get the free drink, but she insisted that we just go as regular people. But usually I get the senior discount. They're not so strict. I like to get there right before dinner starts, so you pay the lunch price, but then you eat the dinner menu. But she had to get her eyelashes done, so she couldn't hang out. So what did I eat? I ate a little bit of everything,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I got my money's worth. I went for the tuna. I feel like that's a price per pound. I could probably eat $10 worth of tuna.
Yeah, I bet you could. Guy like you, of course, man. When you started doing this, if it isn't for money, do you just enjoy knowing that you have 100+ children that are living in the world?
I'm not. Listen, if you I think ask any one of these over 100 baby mamas what's their life's greatest purpose in this world, and I don't think any of them will hesitate. They're all going to say straight up, "Oh, my life's greatest purpose is my baby girl, or my little prince." And knowing that I was able to help play a small role in helping to give all of these beautiful families, and help them grow, I think brings me certainly a lot of satisfaction.
But there's no power trip in it of all right, I've spread my seed to all these people, and when I leave this earth, there's going to be 200 of me running around here, and I feel like I've done all that I can.
No, that never really entered the equation for me. I think when I'm dead, I'm dead. It doesn't really matter. I think, I don't know, is Genghis Khan enjoying the fact that he had so much progeny? Yeah, I don't know. I think he's dead. I don't think he's thinking about it.
Great question. We talk about him all the time. How many kids did he have?
I don't know how many kids he had, but he's got 15
I don't think paternity
million.
tests were invented then, so it's hard to say. I don't know if they were confirmed. I don't know if any of these concubines were cheating with their boyfriend on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, his me in 23 was all of his swords, but yeah.
But it's so our DNA records today show he's got about 15 million living descendants.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but what is that really bringing to his table? I mean, he's dead, so does it really matter?
Well, a lot of people care about their legacy, right? It's the reason we have surnames in the first place. The reason we have a last name is because
people remember Genghis Khan. Do you know who the second most prolific person was?
During the time period, no.
Nobody knows, period. Nobody really knows the number two.
Yeah, so if you're not first, you're last.
So
Yeah.
my legacy is going to be long gone and forgotten.
Oh no, I don't know anybody else that has 100 children actually. So maybe you do win.
Well, no,
There's like
there's
it's an interesting mix. It's like Mormons and some Saudi sheiks and then some Thai kings and I think there's some African kings in there that are quite prolific.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's another guy who's rumored to have up to $1,000 worth of children right now. How do you live then to support yourself if it's not through your cock?
I am a college professor, so I teach mathematics and computer science at a university in Brooklyn, and I've been there for over 20 years. So I got class tomorrow at 11:30. I also have an IVF at 10 o'clock, so it's going to be a little tight, but I'm going to try and go to the clinic and then hustle over to class.
Yeah, it makes sense, obviously. And with that, you've got tenure at the university. I'm assuming they can't fire you. Have they ever had a conversation with you that was like, hey, dude, what are you doing here, Ari? Why are you having so many kids and flying all around the United States to get these women pregnant?
The communications department asked me to maybe just not mention the school, but I think they respect the fact that it's my private life and my professional life and just keep it separate. I think the chair of my department, brought me into the office, but it was more as a part of a motherly role, concerned about, her kids are grown. So my kids are all young. If there's an issue, you give them a lolly and then they go back and, all's well in the world. But, her kids are older and I think the problems are more complex and more dynamic and less easily solvable. So I think that was her concern, that maybe I'm able to handle it now, but when these kids are in their 20s and 30s, and it's going to be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, sometimes there's just not enough lollies in the world, And with that, how old is your oldest?
He is 19, and I messaged him today and told him how much I miss him, and I can't wait to see him at Newark Airport tonight at 11 o'clock when I land. But I don't think he was falling for that. I'm not getting no pickup.
Oh, you're not getting the pickup? Is he throwing bags? Is he a handler? Or?
Well, I bought this last-minute flight coming here, and it was a 6 a.m. flight because she had tested positive a few days earlier than she thought she would. So I bought this last-minute flight for 6 a.m. from Jersey. So I had to wake him up at 4 a.m. to come take me to the airport because the public transportation just isn't good. And I'm trying to make it as affordable as possible for the woman who's going to be reimbursing me for my expenses. Spending a $90 cab to the airport really isn't a good option. So I woke him up and he drove me to the airport, but he wasn't happy about it. So I think I see a bus in my future.
Oh, boy. In Newark? I don't know what's more dangerous, the bus in Newark, New Jersey, or having 100 kids coming after you for money later on in life. Is there any child support involved in any of this, or is there contracts signed that state that you don't have to send any financial support?
I don't require a contract, so that's certainly not something I asked for. But some of the mothers have asked me to sign a contract, but not generally. Some of the mothers went back on their word and sued me for child support, but the vast majority of them were honest. So I'm paying child support for around 9 of the children, but the others are really all voluntary. So if I have any money left over, I'll do my best to try and help out any way I can. But unfortunately, it's minimal because the vast majority of my income is going to these 9 children.
Now, how do you decide whether you use the cup or just cream pies, right? Like, how do you decide between the two? Rather?
Yeah, do you leave the option up to them?
My first couple of kids were more or less conceived the old-fashioned way. I didn't really know there was another way. I wasn't familiar that you could put sperm in a cup and then they could put it inside, and it works just as well as if we had sex. So that was really where the vast majority of the old-fashioned conceptions took place. Lately, I think in the past probably 5 years, maybe 2 children were conceived the old-fashioned way.
Okay, gotcha. Now you're supporting 9 of them. How are you doing that on a professor's salary, if you don't mind me asking? Because one would think that's pretty costly versus what you're actually making a year.
It is around half my salary is garnished. And of course, I live in New York City, which is just an expensive city.
Yep. Yeah.
So I do struggle financially, but I certainly feel very rich. I think there's all different ways to measure wealth, and perhaps if you look at my bank account, it looks like I'm very poor, but um, I look at how much love and joy I have in my life, and I certainly don't feel poor.
Let me ask. Let me ask. We have some people in the audience asking questions. The first one is, have you fathered more males or females?
That's a great question.
We're at 66 girls and 63 boys, so it's really half and half, and it changes.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. That it's almost a 50-50 on that. So if you're at 66, all right, so you're looking at 129 kids right now. 20 were due.
It's 127, but I know the gender of some of the ones that are in the oven.
Oh, gotcha. And have any of them passed away? I know that sounds dark, but one would imagine that not all of them would take.
As far as miscarriages, yes,
Yeah.
miscarriages are quite common, especially as the women get older, then miscarriages are more likely. Certainly in the first trimester, around 85% of miscarriages really happen in that first trimester. Once they make it past that 15th week, then generally they'll often carry to term. I did have 2 children die after they were born, but that's to be expected, I think. One was in Africa, and I think it was just poor medical care. I'm pretty sure if this woman gave birth in the U.S., the kid would have been healthy. And then the other one was just mom had preeclampsia, and it was born premature and lived for around 5 weeks before it needed surgeries, and then it ended up passing. And it was pretty traumatic. I think there's no greater pain.
Yeah.
But in the end, we just tried again, and then she was able to carry to term, and now she has a healthy baby girl.
Okay. Yeah, because one would think with that many children, obviously they're probably not all going to make it. And how are these women finding you personally? Are you finding them?
No, I'm not paying for any Google AdWords or advertising anywhere. They reach out to me. This woman in Brazil, I think she's converting to Judaism. So she said she Googled Jewish sperm donor, and then my name showed up, and that's why she reached out to me. But it varies. I think I have this movie that's coming out. It'll be premiering in the Austin Film Festival. So I imagine there might be some people that watch this documentary about me, and then they might want to be a single mother by choice, or maybe a lesbian couple would see that and reach out to me. So someone's listening to this podcast, and they may decide to reach out and say, hey, wait a minute. So I think a lot of what I'm doing is just bringing awareness to the different reproductive options that women have.
Sure. And speaking of which, that film is coming out here in a couple weeks, which we'll be at. Tell everybody the name of this documentary.
It premiered in Israel because it was Israeli filmmakers in May, and there they called it Ari and the Holy Sperm. I don't really know where they were going with that. But luckily, now that it's coming to the U.S. and it'll be premiering in Austin on the 29th and the 31st, they changed up the name and they called it The Baby Daddy.
Oh, The Baby Daddy. That's great. I like that.
Yeah, that sounds a lot
I much
more
prefer
like
it.
a rom-com, doesn't it?
Yeah. I could see like an older Jay Baruchel playing you as, yourself, traveling around the country, knocking up these women. But it's interesting you talked about religion. Has there anybody that's ever turned you down because of your religion?
I think women choose me for a variety of reasons. Sometimes if they're looking for the Jewish sperm, they might reach out to me. Are they turning me down? I imagine they just wouldn't reach out to me, but sometimes it's just because I'm tall or I have blue eyes. So a lot of times it's just some kind of physical characteristic that they're looking at. I mean, it might even be a heterosexual couple, and then they want someone that looks like their husband, so that when the kid's born, it won't look awkward. So, or if there's a lesbian couple, then you want the woman, the sperm donor, to look a little bit like her partner, who's not going to be the one carrying, so that the child will look like both of theirs. So a lot of times it's physical characteristics, but it varies, and sometimes it's interesting to hear the different reasons that they chose me. Sometimes it's because I'm a math professor and they struggle with math, so they want their kid to be good at math. Sometimes I had a woman say, it looks like you have a very big heart, and I want my child to be kind, so that's why I'm choosing you. So it's always interesting to hear why they choose me.
Yeah,
I think probably the number one reason they're choosing me is because it's free.
Oh, it's well, 'cause it's free. Gotcha. Yeah, because usually that you got to pay for that, right?
Yeah.
And
Do
it's
you,
what, 10K?
For a dude, I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, now unvaccinated sperm is worth a lot more than people that got vaccinated, right?
Right.
On the open market. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you take any, speaking of drugs, do you take any performance enhancers now?
No, I'm not taking any performance enhancing drugs. I don't know if that would increase my sperm count. I was vaccinated, and I'm happy to report that it did not affect my fertility. I had over 30 children born in 2021 and 20 children born in 2022 so far. And those were two of some of my best years. In fact, in 2021, I had over 30 children born on 4 different continents.
Wow. Look, you're entering the prime of your life. You've got, 2 of your best years here. What are you hoping for in 23? Is there a goal in mind, a magic number you'd like to hit as far as children for 2023?
Yeah, 23 and 2023, I think sounds catchy.
Yeah.
Of course, I got a couple in the oven already. I got around 10 kids on the way, so some of them are already doing 2023, but I think I've been slowing down a little bit. I think in the end, probably it's best perhaps if some of these women find someone younger. I think it'll be a little more difficult for me to say no if I already have children with a woman and she wants another child by the same father. So I think it'll probably be some kind of phased retirement where I slowly, start limiting who I'm helping. But right now, I'm helping anyone who asks.
If there's a cock hall of fame, I would like yours to be bronzed and then hung up there, and kind of like a Cooperstown sitch. Because the way you're talking right now is if you're a Lance Armstrong or a Jordan or Joey Chestnut, some of the best athletes in the world. Is that how you view yourself? Because the words and phrases you're using, that certainly sounds like it.
Oh, well, thank you. But very kindly. As much as I like to think I'm ejaculating more than anyone else, I'm pretty sure that there's a host of guys ejaculating more than me. I'm not quite sure what the sport is, but these are human beings. These are lives. It's not a sport. It's not a game. These are beautiful families that I'm helping grow. So I'm not looking at it as a sport.
No, I understand that. Dan and I view sex as a sport. We call it sport fucking. And that's just for us.
It's really my only exercise. I feel like I'm doing like an intense 2-minute workout every single day. It's keeping me in shape.
Yeah, like Tabata, right?
Yeah, it's exactly like Tabata.
Except for at the end, you come.
Yeah, and that's it. That's it. How many of you have you popped off in a day? How many kids do you think you popped off in one day? What's your day record?
Yeah, I mean, how many ejaculations?
Yeah.
The problem is that even if I could do physically 3 ejaculations a day, the sperm count is much less for the second and third. So you really want to abstain for 2 to 3 days in between ejaculations to maximize that sperm count. And then there's also where you don't want it to go too long either. So you really don't want it to go more than a week between ejaculations. Otherwise, even though the count might be high, not a lot of them will be swimming, so the motility will suffer. So in the end, I'm really trying to do 1 every other day, but sometimes you have 2 women ovulating the same day, and you got to go twice in one day. So I'll break it up and maybe do 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. But in the end, ultimately, the more time you have in between ejaculations, the more sperm that there'll be.
So when I ask about performance enhancer, I guess I didn't really mean like Viagra or anything like that. I'm talking about strategies or drugs or whatever supplements that make you have a higher sperm count, I guess is what I was referring to.
Actually, I'm visiting a friend now, and he developed a pill called Sperm XL, and he marketed it and asked me to make a commercial for him, so I helped him promote it. But that was as a favor to a friend. I'm sure it has all good vitamins and nutrients that you might need. I try and stay hydrated, and I'm sure good rest, just being healthy. And but a lot of it probably is just hereditary. I'm 1 of 7, so I think my father probably has a good sperm count too.
Is he still alive? Are your parents still alive? And if so, do they talk to you about what you're doing?
My dad turns 80 this year, and my mom turns 75. They're married over 50 years, and I think all my 4 brothers and 2 sisters are married in very traditional relationships with children. and families. And I think my parents struggle to understand the modern family that I've helped create. And I think in many ways they're ashamed, perhaps, of my lifestyle. Of course, they're also very devout religious Jews. So I think that also poses some challenges. And I think they explore a little bit of that in the documentary that's coming out later this month.
Yeah, and
But we still get along. We love each other. I love them. They love me. They're just not supportive.
gotcha. And I'm assuming you can't bring, all 129 kids to Thanksgiving. You probably don't have the space for that at mom and dad's house, right?
Yeah. 127. But
Yeah.
no, my parents have met some of my children, but of course they have 28 grandchildren without me. So I think that keeps them busy. They spent the holidays so with a lot of them. My kids are not as welcome. I don't think my parents are particularly close with any of my children, but that's okay. I understand where they're coming from. I grew up in the very old fashioned, and I don't really. It doesn't bother me. I understand and respect their decision.
Yeah, because look, we would be willing to fund a bunch of card tables for Thanksgiving and kind of set them up all throughout the yard.
I mean, we could just rent out the Golden Corral.
Yeah, because if there's a corral around there, we'll pay for it. It's on us,
Downtown Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Golden Corral.
I heard that Golden Corral in Brooklyn is amazing, by the way.
There is no Golden Corral in Brooklyn. They just opened the one up in New York City during the pandemic, but it's in the Bronx. But I still take.
Oh, I didn't know there was even one in New York. That's funny.
It's in the Bronx, of course.
Yeah, of course.
You go to a Yankees game, and then boom.
Actually, Staten Island would be where I expected to be,
Yeah,
frankly.
that's
but
true.
Whatever.
That's true. My God, man.
I don't have kids in Austin yet, so I got to work on that. But I do have kids in Dallas and in Houston.
Okay. When you
I was in Houston last weekend.
Yeah,
my brother lives in Houston, and then I have 2 kids there.
I was just going to ask, when you come to Austin, do you have plans? Like, are you looking to impregnate women around Austin?
Yep, I have a woman who reached out to me who said she might be ovulating around that time, who's from Austin. And then I had a woman from Houston who's also ovulating around that time. And if she tests positive, she'll make the drive up to Austin and meet me there.
Okay. And on your side, that's only about a 3-hour drive from Austin for you, in case you had to go down there as well. But out of morbid curiosity here, do you hope, when you die, that maybe all the kids get together and kind of be your pallbearers for you in the end?
The kids are getting together as they're growing up, and a lot of them are bonding with each other. But generally, I'm getting like 5 together at a time, 7 together, sometimes 9. It's very rare I'm going to pull into, triple digits. That hasn't happened yet. That being said, yeah, of course. Unfortunately, you're probably right. It might just be at my funeral that they'll really all get together and show up. But they enjoyed that. Too bad I'm going to miss it.
You should just fake your own death. Once you're done fathering kids, wait like 5 or 10 years or so for them to all be, well, I guess wait 15, 16 years for them to all be somewhere close to adulthood. Fake your own death, have a funeral, and then show up. Surprise, motherfuckers.
Yeah, and it's
right?
you and all 127 of them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I love you guys. I just wanted to get together. It'd be a large selfie, obviously. You're going to need a different photographer.
Wide-angle lens,
yeah.
like one of those 70 millimeters, probably. Yep. Get Quentin Tarantino out. He knows how to do it.
Yeah, he can shoot in 70. And so Peter Jackson as well, from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but then you're going to
70.
be walking for fucking 3 hours. I don't need that shit. The Lord of the Rings sucks, dude. God damn it. The books were actually good, but the movie version
how's the
series,
TV version?
I can't watch it because it's going to be more of the same dumb shit.
Okay. Man, for you personally out there, do you ever plan trips with any of these guys, like to go to Disneyland or any of that stuff? I know money's tight for you.
Nobody can afford to go to Disneyland anymore.
Yeah, what do you do when the kids are asking for new Jordans or to go to Disneyland or something like that? What do you say? Dear old dad is poor?
My understanding and my experience, having 127 children, is that the kids really appreciate the time and the attention. And the gifts are something that they'll end up playing with and then forgetting about pretty quickly. I don't think it really matters if you buy them sneakers from Walmart or brand name Nikes. I don't think that's in the end what they're going to value in the long term, even though if it feels important to them when they're young. I think when they grow old, they'll remember the quality time and attention that they got. I think, I was able to practice the sight words, and we read a book together, and I tucked her into bed. And I think that was a free activity, and it was much more valuable than perhaps, me purchasing them any kind of present. That being said, we do take memorable vacations together. So I have a Disney cruise that'll be going on
Oh,
next month.
So you rent out the whole
The
ship?
mom's taking the kid, and she doesn't want to watch the baby the whole time she's on the cruise. She wants to be able to enjoy all the amenities. And rather than hiring a babysitter, she just was able to pay for the fourth in room. So I don't think it really cost her all that much. And then I'm just going to watch the baby while she goes and gets a break. So I think it's a win-win situation. So we do that. And I have some moms that are obsessed with Disney. So I'm doing a lot of trips in Orlando.
yeah, we've got a lot of people who are obsessed with Disney. Rob, is your wife one of those? Is she a Disney mom? That's the.
She's pretty Disney. She's
Don't hedge.
Yeah.
Because it's at a creepy level.
Yeah. Delco is shaking his
Yeah.
head. Yes.
Delco
He's saying,
knows.
yeah. It's
warning ears for at least one of the conceptions.
no shit. Okay. Yeah, I understand. Stamos is like that as well. John Stamos has got a Disney obsession as well. So it makes sense, and a lot of kids will tie it to that.
That's because John Stamos looks like a goddamn Disney prince.
He does.
And he has since he was like 16 probably, and he will until he dies, apparently.
He's like He looks like a sexy little Aladdin.
I don't know what this asshole's deal is, but he's...
Stamos?
I know he's a great dude, and one of our friends, Giannis, is like beef fries with him,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I know he's a good dude, but it still makes me mad.
Why, that he's that good looking?
That he's that good looking and such a nice guy and successful and all that shit. Like, he's got to be strangling cats
Yeah.
or something. He's some deal with the devil's been made.
I agree. How do you feel about Roe v. Wade getting overturned? Somebody like you. You got 100+ kids out there. What do you think of that?
I'm not quite sure I care one way or another. I mean, if I was female and I was, of the age, maybe it would matter. I'm not quite sure why anyone in their 50s or 60s would really care about that, or why any men should opine. I'm not quite sure how it affects them. It certainly doesn't affect me. I'm a 47-year-old male, and I'm not, I don't know how people are up in arms about it. I don't really understand the whole issue. I think, can't they just take it via like a pill? I don't really get why they can't just order a pill online. Like, do they really need to make it legal? That'll be.
I wish I had this carefree attitude about life that you do. It's amazing. Like, it kind of makes me question what the fuck I'm doing with my own, to be honest with you. After hearing this, it seems like you don't have one care in this world other than procreating and then maybe teaching some math here and there. But that's kind of around your procreation schedule. The whole thing. Again, the wife beater, the whole sitch. Like, I'm jealous. I want you to know that. I'm laughing out of jealousy right now.
I have a high tolerance for stress. I don't stress very easily or stress at all, even when I should. There's probably a happy medium of a healthy amount of stress, but I found that stress doesn't really help anything. It certainly doesn't help the fertility journal. It's quite a stressful journey.
I'm sorry. Did you say
it does affect.
fertility journal?
Yeah, do you keep a journal?
Journey.
Oh, journey.
Journey.
Fertility journey. It's a lot of the women stress out about whether it works or whether it doesn't, and that stress, I think, is not conducive to helping them conceive. I think some of the women that I'm helping are stressing too much, and I tell them, listen, I'm not stressing at all, so maybe the kid will just be perfect and stress just the right amount.
What about drugs? You can't do drugs, I'm assuming, right? Because it would kill the sperm in your balls. Or do you get high? Like, is there any drugs that you do?
I had a couple glasses of wine with dinner last night, and I think, I get a semen analysis quite often because when I go to the clinic, some of the women are we're trying our own, but sometimes if they're older, if they're in their 40s, then we need to use a clinic and they do a semen analysis. How much does a joint of marijuana really affect it? I don't think it has a major effect. I think probably extensive heavy use might lower your sperm count, but I don't think it's something that really one or two joints occasionally, but I was never really a big smoker.
Yeah, most of my sperm are in wheelchairs now because I smoke so much weed.
Yeah, you've never seen an amount of weed like this guy smokes right here. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. What's the oldest woman you've knocked up?
I had women in their 50s give birth this year.
Holy shit. How old was she? What was her exact age? 50 what?
She lied about her age. She told me she was in her 30s. But then when I went to the hospital for the delivery, they kept on asking her what her date of birth is before they give her medication. And she was giving some age in the 60s. So I was like, wait a minute, you're not in your 30s. You were born in the 60s.
Well, it's interesting. The only way you can really be sure is to cut them in half and count the rings.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of the only way you can do
but that's
that.
okay. She didn't need to lie to me. I would have helped her anyway. It just the older you are, sometimes if you're in your 40s, more often than not, you'll just need the help of a fertility clinic. In fact, this Brazilian woman that asked me for help, she's 38, and I suggested let's try on our own for a couple months. And if it doesn't work, we'll just go to Brazil and use an affordable fertility clinic over there. The vast majority of U.S. states don't really cover fertility coverage with your insurance plan. New York is the exception, but even then, there's a lot of exceptions to that rule. So to get IVF treatment in the United States is north of $10,000. But, I'm going to Mexico in December, and it'll be under $5,000 there.
And who pays for that? Them?
Yes, they're going to pay for the fertility treatments.
Gotcha. And this hot Brazilian that you keep talking about, when you see him in real life or online and they are attractive, do you pitch him that first of like, hey, let's give this the old college try and then I'll go into a cup? Because you said you spent 3 days with her.
I didn't rent a car while I was here, so she was helping me drive around to visit my children. And certainly I have moments of weakness where it's sometimes challenging to, insist on using a cup.
Yeah.
And I can be persuaded, but generally I'm really trying to give it in the cup because, otherwise I really want to get retested again before I'm helping anyone else. And that just gets tedious to be doing that 10 times a month. So it's just a matter of time if I keep on having unprotected sex with enough women that I'd be infecting them instead of helping them. So I really do my best to try and be extra careful.
Well, they have those
unprotected sex because she wants action. She doesn't want protected action. She'd want it unprotected. And a lot of these women, and there's donors out there that would, have sex with a lot of women, but they have to understand that the women are pretty high risk as well because some of them are so desperate for a child that a lot of them might be trying with multiple donors, and it's just a recipe for disaster. You really have to be extra careful to just stick to using a cup and get tested often, and then I'm not putting myself at risk, but more importantly, I'm not going to be putting any of the other women that I'm helping this month at risk because I have a woman that tested positive. She wants me to come over after I land tonight at 11 p.m. I had a woman who just asked me to fly out to Atlanta for Friday so I could help her. So I'm probably going to go to Atlanta, Georgia for the weekend.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate if they knew that I was having unprotected sex with the other women, even if I trusted them. I don't think they would trust them.
Yeah.
I wonder, they have, for people that have diabetes, right, you used to have to prick your finger all the time and do all that shit. And now there's like a little implant.
Yep.
Where it monitors your blood sugar level. I wonder if there won't be something like that sometime in the near future where just like a red light starts going off and AIDS.
Yeah, like an AIDS alert button.
AIDS.
Yeah.
Just over and over AIDS. Because then, you're also alerting the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, if you're rich enough, you can beat it. When you have had sex in person, what's the best position to have a baby in? Is it reverse cowgirl? That's what I've been told.
I try and put a pillow under their hip, and they're lying on their back. And then after you ejaculate, you just let them sit there for 5-10 minutes and let gravity work.
Do you ever give like your balls a warm-up speech?
Yeah.
Like, hey, boys.
Yeah,
like,
or just play Rudy, Sean.
Rule 76, play like a fucking champion today.
Yeah.
Right?
Sean Astin speech from Rudy.
Or
you
play
ever
play the Rocky theme song right next to your fucking beanbag.
Yeah, right next to your ball sack. Does music help?
I think when I'm producing the sample in a cup, I'm searching porn. I'm not searching a soundtrack. I'm not listening to Spotify. I'm watching something on Pornhub.
No.
Yeah.
Where do you go to first on Pornhub? We've had this debate in real life. Do you go professionals or do you go amateurs?
Or do you try to find somebody that looks somewhat like the recipient?
Yeah, like the Brazilian. That's a big fetish on Pornhub.
Yeah, it's funny because she has a fetish for Jewish guys, which is odd because that one's less common. But,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah, generally, I'm just searching in Google.
But I'm
you
a
know.
I'm a believer in the power of positive thinking. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
you always have been.
It may not the song isn't necessarily for the sperm. It's mostly for you.
For sure. And if you're ever have another Brazilian, may I recommend Hungry Bitches?
We watched that yesterday on yesterday's show. We watched a movie by a Brazilian director,
Yes,
correct?
this Brazilian film, Hungry Bitches.
I don't know how to say that in that language.
Portuguese, asshole.
Well, aren't they Spanish too? Isn't it half Portuguese, half Spanish there?
No.
Okay. Whatever language it is that you're speaking there, I'm not sure how to say hungry bitches in Portuguese, but it was a lovely film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. But what's your go-to on Pornhub? Where are you going first? You going amateurs? You going pros?
What's the category? Not necessarily the website.
Well, if I'm helping an African American lesbian couple conceive, then I'd be searching African American lesbian porn.
Yeah, see,
You know?
that's what I was asking. If you
Yeah,
go
so your
after
method.
what the
He's
recipient.
method,
Yeah,
yeah.
it makes sense. That
Yeah.
actually does make sense to me for some reason. I don't know why.
Really?
I had a trans man give birth last week,
Whoa!
and that's less common. And I tried that. It was a little different.
Holy shit! So, dude, we've had a picture of these trans men pregnant and giving birth. So you actually did that?
Yes. Yeah. Well, he gave birth just around a week ago to this gorgeous baby girl. All my children are gorgeous, but I was just looking at this beautiful baby girl, and it was so interesting because he has like a big beard, and he looks quite masculine, but he had a big pregnant belly and carried to term, and was able to deliver a beautiful, healthy baby girl. I remember when I was producing the sample, I was trying to search trans men porn, and it did the job, but it was a little different. But sometimes a little variety is good.
So you were able to jack off to trans porn, is what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay. Because that is also prevalent on Pornhub, so at least you can find that. But to your point about Jewish men on there, very, very small category. Why do you think that is, that women aren't searching for Jewish men to fuck?
Yeah. That's a good question. We got to get to the bottom of this. That being said, I do have 127 children, so I don't know. The sperm seems to still be in high demand, even if the action isn't.
Yeah.
I looked up. I searched the keyword Jewish on Pornhub, and there's 416 results.
That's not a lot for Pornhub.
Now, if I search,
I think the issue is probably if you can get some Hasidic Jews to participate. I think there's probably not a lot of content. I don't know about the demand. I think
that might be true, actually. Yeah.
content, maybe there would be better demand.
Yeah, the large swaths of the population aren't really into this sort of shit.
Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they can be coaxed, but just for there's billions of files
Yeah.
on Pornhub.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
only
Only
416.
416, yeah.
I think
How
that's
many Amish? What about Amish porn?
yeah. There won't be any Amish.
I go try it. I
Okay.
think there'll be a lot of Amish ones because I think that's a weird one where it's like, hey, I want to fuck in the back of a wagon, and then I also don't want to use my cell phone afterwards. 'cause
only
they can't text
19
you.
for
Yeah,
Amish.
one of 19.
Yeah,
Damn, dude.
So we beat the Amish. Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you
I'll
can
take it.
you can spike the football on that one.
Yeah, you can definitely spike
What
the
else?
football on
What
that
else?
one.
What other groups of people? I mean, I don't think that some groups of people really get fetishized that much. You know what I mean?
Dagestani.
Like, yeah, but
Yeah.
there will be Russian or Chechen all over the place.
Oh, for sure.
So,
Tons of those.
that's people. That's not a function of there not being Dagestani porn or people searching for it. It's that they don't. People in the West are too stupid to know the difference between different countries. That's what it really is.
I went to Russia to conceive during the pandemic.
Oh, did you
Wow.
really?
Very good.
How was that?
Yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, it was during the pandemic, so it was challenging to get in and get a visa. But once I was there wasn't particularly any tourists. So I'm sure it'll be a little different, but the prices were very affordable because they weren't really allowing anyone in. But I went to St. Petersburg and used the clinic there, and we had a beautiful baby girl born because of it. So those doctors, they know what they're doing. The fertility clinics there are quite talented.
Yeah.
What about like?
Wait,
like-
Russian 112,000 results.
Yeah, there's tons.
Quite a bit of that.
Yes, and I'm going to Georgia next month, the country, not the state.
Yeah,
I'm going to
sure.
Georgia, the state, this weekend, but then I'm going to Georgia, the country, the first week of November. In fact, right after Austin, I got to go be in not Tbilisi, which is the capital, but Batumi. But they have very affordable clinics there, and I believe it's difficult now to get a hotel because there's been so many Russians that have been escaping and invading Georgia just so because they don't want to serve in the draft. So I've been having trouble finding some lodging over there because normally it was quite cheap. But I was in Georgia twice over the pandemic and the hotels were almost nothing. But now it's very, very expensive to get a hotel in the country of Georgia.
Yeah, and Ray Charles, the Georgia On My Mind song, he passed away, obviously. We never got to ask him if it was about the state or the country that was owned by Russia. So you could play that to your balls to kind of get hyped for that travel if you want. And I think that would be a nice thing for you. But in the future, is there any like age as far as like I want to knock up a 70-year-old? Like I want to be the first one to knock up the oldest person of all time.
You said 70, not 7. Right?
Correct. Definitely
Okay,
not
good.
7. That's a different show. Different show.
Okay, good. Really, the once they are above 44, they're really going to need an egg donor. So they might be healthy enough to carry a baby, but they're not going to be able to use their egg because their egg quality won't be good. So they would have had to have frozen their eggs when they were in their 30s, and then they'd be able to carry the baby for another 10, 15 years. But, it's dangerous. There's a lot of risks associated as the woman gets older. And of course, the most important thing is making sure that these moms, don't die during childbirth. I want no 70-year-old. I want to make the baby. I don't want to take the baby. We want the mother to raise the baby. So no, I'm very happy with my record. I believe I had 2 women in their 50s delivered in the past year, and that's just fine.
We got another question from the audience. Someone's asking if you wear a protective cup to protect your balls.
Yeah, because they're worth a lot.
Yeah.
First of all, they're not worth anything. Okay, I'm giving it away for free. Okay, it's not a money-making scheme.
Yeah, but that's the freemium model,
money
right?
goes one
Just like a
direction.
fucking
It's
app.
going to the children. There's no money coming back.
Just for now, right?
Notwithstanding my lunch at Golden Corral, generally it's an expense.
Sometimes you got to
I have
treat
lots
yourself.
of expenses, not a lot of money coming in.
But yeah, but this is you're an IT guy. This is the freemium model, right? Like you started off for free, and now that it's catching on, you got a documentary coming out now. Stud service, right?
Starting to monetize.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's these documentaries that I don't think are financially big successes. I mean, I hope and wish and pray that it does because the filmmakers are just wonderful. It was their first documentary, but they really did a great job with it. I haven't quite figured out how to monetize any of this fame. Maybe I'll be able to finagle a free case of hard seltzer from you guys.
Oh, 100%. When you're here,
that's about it.
Yeah, when you're here, we'll bring one to the premiere, and then we'll crack some hard AF seltzer with you and really, celebrate your life because you're a hero and you deserve it, obviously. Mathematician-wise, was Good Will Hunting bullshit? Yes or no?
Oh, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I do remember enjoying it. That's really what a movie's for. It's for entertainment. I'm going to be on CNN on November 20th at 10 p.m. on the season premiere of This Is Life with Lisa Ling. It's her, I believe, 9th season of this show, and it's also her final season. And the first episode of the season will just be almost an hour of just me and they're meeting a couple of the moms and women that I helped.
Is she the one that got kidnapped by North Korea?
Was that her?
I don't remember.
She was the one that was on The View.
Okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Do you ever pull out your balls and say, what do you think of them apples?
No.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't even like when my balls are played with. I really just let them be.
Yeah, because
really?
you're trying to protect them. I understand, man.
If
They're delicate.
Yeah, if they get tangled up.
Whether they're like worth money or whatever, they're clearly worth something to you because you've put them to a lot of use. You know what I mean? I mean, you've fathered 130 goddamn children. So
yeah, I mean, you've really been pumping them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. And I was doing around 2 or 3 a year for the first 10 years. But then it was really in the past 5 years that those numbers started to grow.
Now, was that intentional on your part, or that's just how the biz was? Was the biz slow?
Better medicine, too.
Yeah, and then will the recession affect it? Because we're about to hit a nasty recession as well.
I don't know. I mean, certainly COVID didn't affect it, which I thought it was. But, it's funny because then my work schedule opened up because I didn't have to teach in person. So I was able to travel more. And then all of a sudden the flights got extra cheap. So it was like this perfect storm of being able to travel and have all this free time and, all these $10 flights. So I don't know. You never really know. Do people have less children during a recession? Probably, I guess. But I doubt it'll affect anything.
During the pandemic, did you put a mask over your balls?
I didn't. No, I wasn't particularly careful, but it was funny because I remember coming to Texas, making a donation at the height of the epidemic, and I was leaving LaGuardia Airport in New York City, and everything was closed. It was literally a ghost town. And then I would land in Dallas, and it was like business was booming, regular, everything was open. Yeah, you could go to Chick-fil-A and get whatever you want. And it was just so bizarre because it's the same country. It was just literally night and day.
A lot of people don't know this, but we spent the first couple of months of the pandemic shooting all of the COVID.
Yep. And we also, I don't know if you know this, we also have a governor in a wheelchair, and he lost a race to a tree. And after that, he was just like, well, fuck it. If I'm fucked, you're all fucked. So no mask. You can do whatever you want in this state. And that's kind of how he rolls, pun intended, at the end there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can give him a call and we can see if we can roll him out to the premiere because it is right before midterms. Midterms are coming up. I think that'd be a good look if he was there. He needs a little star power. There's not a lot down here, to be real with you. Once Deshaun Watson left, who was, obviously another great father, it was kind of the superstars went away from Texas. So maybe we can get him out and roll him into the premiere, and that'll be a nice thing for midterms.
I don't think
Abbott?
Yeah, Greg Abbott.
Abbott against Beto?
Yeah. It's Beto, or is it Beto or Beto? How does the maid pronounce it?
It's Robert.
It is, okay.
His name's Robert.
All right. I wasn't sure how the maid
match.
was pronouncing it. Yeah.
It's a weird.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird situation.
It is. But look, all of this is weird, but it's starting to become more popular and acceptable, like you're saying. For instance, Dancing with the Stars this season in their new season, it's the kid that Arnold Schwarzenegger had sex with the maid.
Oh, yeah.
And never had contact.
Did you ever
with.
see
He's on the show.
That one's really bizarre. I know that statistically speaking and psychologically speaking, men don't cheat with hotter women. It's not about that for men.
Mm-mm.
It's more about like what they get, conquest or emotional from the woman or whatever else, right? But I wasn't expecting Arnold Schwarzenegger's side piece to look like the maid from Family Guy.
What's extra interesting is that they call me the Sperminator, but the original Sperminator was actually Arnold Schwarzenegger because when he had that illegitimate child with his nanny, his obviously fame was from the Terminator, and then they called him the Sperminator. So it used to be when you Googled Sperminator, all you saw was just articles about Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then now when you Google Sperminator, it's basically just me. So I really did him a solid.
You sure did, because that guy didn't have enough money. And I think what he was probably wishing is that there was a Jewish man from New York who was just knocking up hundreds of women for free and then getting half of his wages garnished to pay for these kids. And that's probably what Arnold was hoping for. But the Sperminator's a great name. Did you try to trademark it?
Is it a great name? I'd
Yes.
rather a name that doesn't have sperm in it.
Well, look, what are you slanging there? What's that hog look like between your legs? Were we talking a solid 8, 9? Because then you go off of something like that,
I think if I really need to monetize, that's about I'll make an OnlyFans. Maybe
there you go.
That's exactly where I was going with
What
this.
about-
I got a lot of mouths to feed. But the truth is, I would like. I'm embarrassing my kids. I think enough. I think the last thing they need is for me to be, doing porn.
Hey, look, that doesn't stop single mothers all over the country from doing exactly that.
I know.
What about Hogzilla?
Hogfather,
Well, I was trying to push America's Dad because the original America's Dad was Bill Cosby.
Yeah, wow.
And then now that he was giving quaaludes to women and having sex with them when they were incapacitated, I feel like they can't call him America's Dad anymore. So I feel like that moniker is up for grabs. And even though I have children in other countries, I do feel like I have over 100 in the U.S. So why not take over America's Dad?
I like America's Dad.
I like that.
I mean, the
It
trademark
was-
is owned by Fox, right? Because it's a Seth MacFarlane show, but not.
Well, American Dad, right? So not
Yeah.
America's Dad.
I guess,
so
yeah.
After Cosby, I don't know if you know this, but America's Dad actually went to Bob Saget. Now Saget's dead. So I think you're next in line for the throne there at that point. Where were you at on 9/11?
I was in New York City.
You were in New York City. Were you close to the towers?
No, not particularly. I was living in Queens, but I remember I did put in for a free air conditioner unit. I said it broke because of the dust. And, they sent me a $600 unit with 16,000 BTUs. So I was close enough to get the free AC from FEMA, but no, but certainly I remember that time. I was going into the city quite often, and I used to party in the Twin Towers all the time. They used to do great parties on the roof. The Windows of the World. They had a great restaurant on the top, and they used to do some live music on Wednesday nights. I used to go quite often.
Yeah, no, I was just, I'm always curious when you meet, like a real New Yorker like yourself.
Everybody's got a story.
Everybody's got a story, and
they're all like relatively interesting too. It's not like everybody's got a story about the time they went fishing. I'm like, all right, shut the fuck up, dude.
Right.
Well, after all that death, that's really what inspired me to help repopulate and have all these children. And I think my next trip really needs to go to the Ukraine and all that death and destruction that took place over there. Maybe we could go there and give them some business.
So you're like a Johnny Appleseed, but with cum.
Maybe people die in Puerto Rico. Maybe I'll go there. So sounds a little more appealing than Ukraine.
Yeah, dude, down in PR, the women are hot. The weather's nice. You can get into some crypto. They're not going to find you tax-wise. You could really evade everything that's going on here and everything that you owe. Ukraine's a little different. If you wanted to take your cock to the subway, kind of like you two did, and play, or just jack off in the subway for the people of Ukraine, kind of the way that, Bono and U2 played to help out that country. I think that would be a nice thing. I know Zelensky's looking for more American support. Sending America's Dad would certainly be a step in the right direction.
I would send America's Dad and also America's Daddy.
Yeah.
and the Ukrainian women are quite attractive.
Very attractive.
Well,
and that's why this war is so sad. Dan and I have talked about this numerous times.
It's A or B.
Right.
It's either attractive, they look like an old Polish lady, you know what I mean? Which is, maybe that's just what it turns into over time, but that's your grandma. You love that woman.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, you love that woman. And now, has any of the wives ever died, or the ladies ever died, and then the kids are in the will, and they're like, hey, you've got to take care of this kid now. I'm dead.
None of the mothers, thank God, have died. But obviously, sometimes I do try and ask them, what do you want me to do? Certainly, if they ask me to take over, and I wouldn't want the kids to go to foster care, so I will step up to the plate. But if the mother's wishes were that it goes to their sister or to their mother or someone else that they were very close with, then obviously that's what I would do. Technically, even if we did sign anything, there's really all the rights do go to the father once the mother dies. And sometimes it's not really death. Like I had Child Protective Services that took the child away from one of my mothers, and then I ended up having to step up to the plate and intervene because I didn't want the child going to foster care. So I ended up placing the child with another one of my children's mothers. So now these two brothers are growing up together. And of course, we're hoping and praying that the mother will regain custody, but at least it's a really type of family unit where a lot of these mothers that I helped feel very connected and appreciated, and look at these other kids as almost their nieces and nephews, more than just their their donors' children. So they don't look to me as a donor. A lot of them do look to me as family.
Yeah, I feel the same way when I go to Olive Garden. What can we expect out of this documentary that might shock some people?
I think they chronicle a little bit of the struggles that I faced over the past few years. So it really they started when I had only just 20-something children, and then chronicled it over the past few years. And I think it really features a little bit the relationship with my son, who's 19 now, who for some reason does not want to take over the family business, and then also the struggles that it caused with my family members who are quite old-fashioned.
Okay. Are we going to see any footage of any conceptions at all, or is that kind of maybe for a sequel?
Oh, yes. Lots of conceiving.
Is it really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm making babies 2-3 times a week. Yeah. So they were following me around probably for 100 days. So there's a boatload. There's probably a whole montage of donations. Of course, you might have to pay extra for the deleted scenes. I don't think they all made the cut. So it's done nice and tastefully.
No, that's the OnlyFans. You want that behind a paywall.
Yeah, or a blooper reel, where you just kind of miss the cup, or, you're just like, it's like a Benny Hill song.
Yeah, I'm a professional ejaculator. I'm not missing any cups.
Oh, look at that. For the shot,
do you
what do you reckon? Yeah.
Do you
Is
hold,
it like Jordan? Do you hold a pose?
Hold the pose
yeah.
after you take the shot, or what?
Yeah, I think sometimes they're quite impressed with how efficient I am.
Kobe.
You done already?
Kobe, yeah. Do you?
I don't know if I really want to advertise that, but
that's fine.
Sometimes you just want to get it over with.
No, I understand. Especially with the trans one, that's got to be tough. Is that the first time you ever jacked off to a dude with a beard?
Yeah, that's not what's tough. The hardest is when there's no Wi-Fi. For some reason you're in like a dead zone, and then you just got to use your imagination, and that just takes a little extra. Or sometimes it gets a little more challenging if obviously it's the second donation of the day and it takes a little bit longer.
And where does that imagination go for you? Does that go to like first love? A weird night in Cancun? Maybe a relative who got a bit too handsy on Secretary's Day. Like, where does that go for you mentally?
Like prior encounters,
Okay. Any faves in particular? Like, what was the one night where you're like, man, I wish I could go back and fuck that hard like every night?
I had I think that's what I was doing all throughout my 20s. I wasn't making children. But I wouldn't be completely surprised if I have some children floating around from my 20s that were just unintended pregnancies.
How many 23andMe alerts do you get per day?
Yeah. It's funny because I had a woman that I was due in August. But then I was reaching out to her on Mother's Day, just saying, how's it going? How's the pregnancy going? And she ghosted me. She just stopped responding to any of my messages. And I said, okay, that's fine. If she really, sometimes they want to make sure that she's a lawyer. So I thought maybe she's risk averse, and she just changed her number. Turns out she changed her number because there was an ex-boyfriend who thought the baby was his. So she ended up reaching out to me in September and said, I wasn't ghosting you. I changed my number because this ex-boyfriend was harassing me. She broke up with her ex-boyfriend and ended up having a baby with me because I think he had the sickle cell trait or something along those lines. So she wanted me to do a paternity test so that she'll know that the child was mine and not his, and then she can show that to him. What we ended up doing is I told her, just let's do 23andMe, which is really just a cheaper version of a paternity test. But
Sure.
Every once in a while, I have children in other countries. And just this month, I was able to get my twin children in Hungary U.S. citizenship because as long as I have children, I'm the father, and father is a U.S. citizen, and all the children that I conceive are U.S. citizens as well. So I've got my daughter in Africa, U.S. citizenship, and of course, she's now living in Missouri. And then I got my twins in Hungary, U.S. citizenship. And those generally require a paternity test, which is quite expensive. It cost me around $1,000 for that paternity test. Because it was twins, so I had to pay twice.
Yeah, somebody was asking in the chat, the most amount of babies at one time, twins, triplets, any quads in there?
I have a set of twins that's on the way, and that'll be my 8th set of twins.
Oh, congratulations.
Triplets or quads.
Yeah, congratulations. So that's, just in those 8 women, that's 16 kids. That's pretty sweet as far as numbers go.
Well, over 40 of my children have a full sibling. So a lot of the women that reached out to me came back for another child so that the kid will have a full sibling.
Okay. Any thoughts of getting them together for maybe a pickleball tournament or a 5-on-5 or a full goddamn soccer game? That's 11 on 11,
Yes. We got to do, the North versus South. We'll make up some teams.
America's Dad's summer camp.
Too many on the West Coast. U.S. against the world.
I like how you said North and South, because the Civil War reenactment with that many people would be, I mean, that's probably around the right number, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the bulk of my kids are really close to where I live. So New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, we're looking at around 60 kids. So roughly half are just those 3 states. But I do have kids spread across around 20 different states.
Okay, what about race? What's the predominant race of these women who are asking you for your ball
Yeah,
juice?
that's a good question. You know, people ask me that, but it's hard to say because I'm never really sure. Are they African American or Hispanic? So it's a little difficult. Like I'm not really asking. I'm sure they told me at some point, but I don't record it. Like, what if they're Puerto Rican? Then what race do I classify them as? So
Mexican.
I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that I covered basically all the races, all the religions, even all the orientations.
Sure. Yeah. Look, we don't see race either, so I totally understand. Now's the point in the show we get to the Drinkin' Bro of the Week, which is someone who has inspired you or helped you become the person you are today. Who would you like to give that to?
Yeah, I mean, my father only had 7 children. But,
Only?
He was a great father. Certainly, he taught me how to be a good father, and I just hope and wish that I'll be able to be half the father that he was to me. Of course, that'll never happen. I'm never going to be able to provide for my children financially the way my father was able to support me, and I certainly will never be able to tuck my kids into bed at night, and tell them bedtime stories in the same way that my dad was able to do for me. But I certainly think that's something to aspire to.
Well, I mean, look, you could record a bedtime story as like a podcast or something, and
I
then
do a lot of that. I'm doing a lot of video chatting and things like that to keep in touch with kids from other countries and other states.
Any of your kids know Braille by any chance?
No.
Okay. Only reason I ask, I got a blind buddy of mine. He doesn't have any friends, so I was going to pair them up. Maybe they can meet at the premiere or something, but I'll kind of look elsewhere for that. But in the meantime, the movie is called Baby Daddy, correct? That's the name of the documentary?
It's The Baby Daddy, yes.
The Baby Daddy. And what night is that premiering at the Austin Film Festival? Obviously, we are here. We will be there opening night with some hard AF seltzer for you. Do you have the date and the time in the theater by any chance? Or have they provided that info yet?
Yeah, I'm sure you can go to the Austin Film Festival website, but it's on the Saturday night. So it's on the 29th and the 31st, but the 29th will be the first night. That's Saturday night. I believe it's around 7:30.
Oh, perfect. Actually, my parents are in town.
And then don't forget CNN on November 20th at 10 p.m. for This Is Life with Lisa Ling season premiere.
Yeah.
It was her sister, by the way, that got kidnapped by the North Koreans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, younger
That's
sister.
what I thought.
Yeah.
What ended up happening with her? Did they take her leg?
No, I think they just released her.
Bill Clinton got her out.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, but they didn't take a leg?
It wasn't during the Clinton administration. He just kind of went over as a special
Hey,
envoy.
Give me that woman back.
I'm looking forward to it, Ari. I'm looking forward to going to
I'm
this
super
movie.
excited.
I'm looking forward to the premiere. Do you party? Are we going out? Are we doing blood? Like anything that we need to keep on tap for you here besides the hard AF seltzer?
Let's go. Yeah, I don't want to fly with any of my paraphernalia, so I'm counting on you to supply.
Oh,
don't worry about
absolutely. What are you into? We'll grab it for you.
I never turn anything down.
Just like Dan.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Okay, perfect. Ari Nagel is his name. Remember it. He is a legend, a hero, a father, and more importantly, a teacher. And he's
America's
molding
dad.
America's dad. We're going to get that to stick. Bob Saget is dead. Okay, he's not coming back to life. Ari Nagel is still alive, and I think
Cosby's locked up.
he deserves that title. Yeah. Well, no, Cosby's out. He got off on a technicality. I'm not sure if you remember, but they actually let him out of prison, so he's out right now.
But listen, I'm flex. If somebody else wants America's Dad, I could do Inseminator, I could do Ejaculator, anything but Sperminator, I think.
So the Sperminator one's the one that gets you. Like Ejaculator, you think is the game winner for you? Like,
I don't know. No, Ejaculator sounds like a bandit who just pounds off in public and shit.
or like with Goose in the original Top Gun, you know?
Ejector?
Sounds like a superhero.
Ejaculator?
We did have Jack Off, man. Remember Randy
That's
Quaid?
right.
A guy who jacked off and came acid or whatever the fuck.
My kids just call me Dad.
But they don't call you America's Dad?
No. Some of them call me Donor Dad. But most of them just call me Dad.
One last question here from the audience before we get out of here. Who do you want to play you in a movie if they make an HBO or a Netflix movie about you?
Listen, I got a lot of mouths to feed. I want to get in on that action. I haven't figured out how to monetize it, but if possible, I want to play myself.
Oh, you
What
want
do
to?
you guys think?
I'm thinking. This is off the top of my head. Bradley Cooper or Hunter Biden. It's a tight race for me right now. I don't know which one.
Vince Vaughn had some kind of sperm donor movie. I enjoyed that. That was good. Did a good job with that.
Yeah, that's right. Look, maybe he's down for another one. Maybe he'll be in town and be at the premiere. You can join us October 29th at the Austin Film Festival to check out The Baby Daddy. Ari Nagel, this was very fun and very educational today. Thanks for stopping by Drinkin' Bros Podcast.
You bet. My pleasure.
Absolutely. D'Anthony, you met a hero today. How do you feel?
I'm fine. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Go to iTunes, rate the show a 5-star, and leave a quick review, or go to Spotify. That's just a 5-star, and you can walk away. It's all the advertisers really care about. For Ari Nagel, D'Anthony Holloway, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the Drinkin' Bros